Hello, Angst Channel, what's up? I missed you so much. So much happening. Deadline very soon, but also pilot season happening now. Also, we found a bunch of Gilbart pins in the warehouse. Look, if you don't know who Gilbart is, it doesn't matter. He's the dragon that lived inside of my Snapchat. Does he still live there? I hope so. I hope he's doing okay. Who knows though? I have not logged in, though I have recently changed my password, as I have changed my password everywhere. So we make YouTube videos and we like making YouTube videos. I think it's a really interesting job. And we have launched a couple new channels recently. Ars Poetica, which I love. I didn't know how much I was gonna love Ars Poetica. I was, let's be honest. It's me, right? Like I have a hard time with poetry. I think just due to like sensory processing stuff. It took me a really long time to learn how to read. I'm still a slow reader, and I think that like when I'm presented with words in a different format, it can be really difficult for me to understand them. Like I can't read through a whole poem without losing it, unless I'm reading it out loud. And I read it out loud a few times, and then I'm like, oh, what a cool thing that this person did with the words. But Ars Poetica has helped me with that, so that, in it being a reading, it's much easier for me to pay attention and to understand what the cool thing that's going on. And it's just made me, it's given me like an appreciation for a thing that like I knew was cool and I knew was good, but kind of was like felt inaccessible to me. So love it. So much. We also, of course, Journey to the Microcosmos is a new channel that we're doing, and that's been really good and fun. The last episode, this week's episode, was so weird to do. It was basically like, what is life? And, you look at these things and you're like, geez, it's just little chemicals, just chemicals inside of these bags, like pulling themselves away from entropy. It's amazing. That's great. If you want to check that episode out, I'm proud of it. I think it turned out really good. Ars Poetica has funding. So that thing is helped along by the Poetry Foundation. So that was paid for up front, which is really nice. But then when we did Journey to the Microcosmos, we were like, okay, let's do 30 episodes of this. And that's a lot. But that's back from like when we used to launch a channel, we'd be like, we're launching a channel and it'll be around forever. And that was hard for because we didn't know how to assess the success of a thing if it wasn't paying for itself, basically. When we launched Microcosmos, we were like, okay, let's do a 30 episode season. And that's helped along by the fact that it's a little cheaper and that it's relying mostly on a lot on me. And that we found this really great partner who can help us with the video content, who is James in Poland, who's doing all the cinematography for it. And microscopy, I guess, both of those things at the same time. But we've had other ideas. It's like, well, I don't know, like 30 episodes of all of these things would be really expensive. I don't think that we could pull it off. We'd have to create a whole team to do it. And it's been really stressful, even the way that we're doing it right now, which is instead of saying let's do basically nearly a year of content, let's do pilots. And the way that pilots work in Hollywood is that a bunch of people get together, somebody has money, and they pay for the production of one episode, or the network pays for the production of one episode, and then you show it around. The network decides whether that's something they want to have on their network. And most of them never get made, and some of them get made and then they finally see an audience. So most pilots never even see an audience. And I'm really curious actually what happens to those pilots that never get seen outside of that room. I'd love to watch them. I'd love to have a YouTube channel that's just let's watch pilots. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm sure that those things are very, very secret, though. But if not, let me know in the comments. But that's not obviously what we're doing here, because these things are being developed internally at our company. We're paying for them. And we have to decide whether we want those things to exist. And to say, let's do 30 episodes, it's just too expensive. And it's just too much work. So instead, we're doing 3 episodes of 3 different shows. History Pop, which is, we look at history through the lens of pop culture. So our first episode, which just came out, is about Deadwood and how swearing worked back then. So obviously Deadwood has a lot of cursing, and the question is, did they actually curse like that in Deadwood? And the answer is yes and no, and it's actually really interesting to sort of get a little bit of an insight into what the Deadwood mining camp was actually like and how hard the people who made that show worked on making it feel accurate, but of course not being accurate, because if it was accurate, it wouldn't feel accurate, which is, it's both interesting from like a creative perspective and from a historical perspective, and that episode did that, it hit that balance really well. We're also doing a show called Stories Retold, with the idea of this is take old stories that maybe we all know, nursery rhymes, Grimm's fairy tales, that kind of thing, and then put them inside of a different context and make them sort of update the moral of that tale. So what's the moral of the story? In the past it was don't walk out into the middle of the woods because that doesn't turn out well. But we don't need that one as much anymore. So what's the moral of the story? Is it being mean to yourself is kind of like being mean to other people? You can't really do one without the other. Or is the moral of the story that different people see the world in different ways? And then we have Hashed Out, which is basically a conversation about media in 2019. How are stories being transferred around? How is information and how is the truth combating the lies? And that's everything from how does journalism work to how does Twitter work, and how does the different sections of YouTube work, and how do the platforms themselves, the decisions that they're making influence reality, influence elections, influence, all of our lives. So that's a really big topic to try and take on, but I'm excited to see how Hashed Out does. And I'm glad to be, even if that show, even if it gets 0 views, I just think that trying to find ways to talk about that stuff is deeply, deeply important. Those are the 3 ideas that hit our first pilot season, and this is sort of our pilot season. I have no idea how it's going to go, but we want to learn 2 things from the pilot season, maybe 3. One is whether we're good at that kind of content. So you don't really know until you make a video whether you're going to be able to make a video. So the idea of the pilot season is to say, how much work is this? Did we achieve our goal? And if not, if we're just this isn't in our skill set, or or it's just not a good idea, then we can know that internally kind of without even releasing the episodes. Second is we don't really ever know how an audience is going to react to something until you put it out there. And so that's the second thing. We want to see how people feel about it. Are they going to share it? Are they going to be excited about it? And what is the feedback that we're getting from them? And then 3, how is YouTube going to react to this? Is YouTube going to put this in a recommended video spot? Is it going to share it? Is it going to be the kind of thing that's clickable and that's friendly to the YouTube algorithm? And also just the YouTube algorithm is both things. It's itself, it is a computer program, but it also is based on the actions of human people. And so how do those human people react to it? Do they like it? That's one thing, and we're getting good feedback. But do they watch every episode? Do they come back? Do they click on it? Does it lend itself to good topic ideas and good thumbnails? Those things are also really important. The sort of 4th function of the pilot season is to hopefully, if this is okay for me to ask, to have people get invested and to care about the content. So we can't make stuff if it doesn't sustain itself. If we just sort of toss it out into the ether and say this is a new show, watch it if you want to, that doesn't sort of get people invested. And I want people to care. Even though, chances are the show you care about might not last forever. So I also want it to only be 3 episodes. It feels a little less cruel to give people 3 of something and then no more than to give them 1 or 10. For some reason, I'm not going to look closely at why that is, but that's how I feel. There was some conversation about whether or not we should put these things up on a sort of pilot season YouTube channel, or whether we should put them on Complexly's YouTube channel internally before we launched. Because then it'd be oh, you can watch them all here. And I don't know if this is the right call, but the reason we didn't do that is because we wanted to, I have always believed that it's the best thing for the user to be able to subscribe to a show on a channel, and that a channel and a show are the same thing. Now, Crash Course doesn't really take this perspective, but Crash Course isn't really a YouTube channel. It doesn't act like a YouTube channel. It's, it's always hosted by different people, and it's got different shows going on at the same time. It's watched very different from how YouTube channels are watched, in that it is watched mostly when people need it, not like as videos are coming out. And then there's the piece of it that's like, I want people to subscribe to a channel, and if the videos do well, they're already subscribed to the channel. And instead, like if one of those videos did really well and a bunch of people subscribe to this thing and then they get the next video is like a completely different thing, it's like for a completely different audience, then that's a terrible user experience and like you might lose them. Especially in the process of being like, okay, we're gonna move over to this new channel, come sign up at the actual channel. That's the sort of like extra step. Now I don't know, that might have been the right way to do it, but this is the thing that like I think has the best chance, and also we can tell by, you know, not just viewership but subscriber numbers. Like those two things are very different from each other. Like if you watch something and you're like, I love this, I want to sign up, then like subscribers tells you that. Whereas if you watch it and you're like, I watched this, I did watch it, I clicked on it, then that's what the viewership number tells you. So we want both of those data points to see how well the channels are doing at the end of this 3-week period. And then from there, if we want to keep any of them going, then those channels already exist and we don't have to think or worry about it. So that's the idea behind pilot season. And it's happening now, and as of the upload of this video, as of the recording of it, we've only got the first episode of History Pop out, which is why I didn't talk about the other 2 episodes. As of the uploading of this video, all 3 channels have had their first videos come out. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee at a friend's 40th birthday party, so I have pre-recorded this so that I can upload this when all of those videos have come out so that you can go watch all of them. I really like the first episode of History Pop, and that makes me feel like I'm gonna really like all of them, so we'll see though. And thanks for checking it out. And I wasn't kidding, we have a bunch of Gilbart pins that we found at the warehouse. So if you care about Gilbart and you want a Gilbart pin, we have put them on sale so that we don't have them anymore. Okay, so go away, go to those channels.